Well, hi, welcome to Guitar Zone. I'm Robert Knoll. This is number 5 of the beginning guitar lessons. There will be 53 altogether, so it's a weekly lesson every week for a year. Lesson number 5. We want to review today. I've got my classical guitar, by the way. This is an electrified classical. It's kind of cool because it has some nice tones and a tuner built in. So it's a nice teaching guitar for me. I just thought I'd tell you about the guitar, okay? Nylon strings, which feel easy on the fingers. It sounds appropriate for classical music, jazz, Baroque music, about any style. But it is a different sound, the nylon strings from steel string guitars. Okay, well, let's talk about our lessons. So far, we want to review. It's always about reviewing, getting your practice routine together, making it better, tweaking it in, finding better ways to practice and spend your time on the different exercises that require physical and mental and memorizing. We started with the down-up picking, where you were down, up, and shifting to different strings, telling yourself B string, G string, E string, A string, without looking, being able to hit the correct string, you know. So that's kind of set around and really work on just hitting the string. Then we talked about finger placement, and I gave you the very first scale, which was the chromatic scale. So important. Every half step, semitones. Every fret is a semitone. That scale was about, once again, finger placement. And when you hit the open string, a nice solid open E string, and you place the first finger, you hug the frets, tips of fingers. You've got your wrist out here, and now we continue. Thumb is in back of the second fret. The G string breaks the pattern, remember? Look at your chart. So now you return, independently adding each finger. Before you leave the first finger, you hit the open string. Don't forget the open strings. Before you lead with the fourth finger. It's all about open strings too. So your chromatic scale this week, you should be starting to do the down-up picking. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And you want to even say down, up while you're doing it. Down, up. Because it helps you to get your pick working with your fingers. They got to work together. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up, down. Another thing you could say open, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. Open D, first finger, second finger, third finger, open G, first finger, second finger, third finger, open B, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, open E, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, third finger, second finger, first finger, open E, fourth finger, third finger, second finger, first finger, open B, third finger, second finger, first finger, open G, fourth finger, third finger, second finger, first finger, open D, fourth finger, third finger, second finger, first finger, open A, fourth finger, third finger, second finger, first finger, open E. And that whole time I was doing the down-up picking. You got to keep working on your chromatic scale. It's really important because you're getting a lot of technique and skill And you might not play it that fast. It might be slower. You play very slow if you have to, and eventually you start bringing the speed up. So you got to be meticulous and caring, because you've got to be consistent with your fingering, consistent with your pick, and they have to work together. Beyond the chromatic scale, we did our next scale, which was the natural scale. We talked about the natural scale being so important to learning names and playing in the first position. We stay in first position except for that very last note. On A, we go out of position and then we come back into first position. So we go first position, second position. So once again, if you're practicing, you should be able to give me something like this by today, by this 5th week. You ought to be able to play and say the note names: E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. So maybe you're a little slower. Maybe you don't have the accuracy yet, but you're working on it, because you want to be able to get it to sound just like that. You've got to have the finger placement happening. You can't have fingers out here and fingers here and your thumb. It's got to be thumb in back of the 2nd fret, hand coming out, and that movement of the wrist. So I'm playing on the low notes. I have my wrist, knuckles way out here, and there's space underneath there. Thumb in back of the 2nd fret. It's back there relaxed, right? See my thumb? These fingers stay in this 1, 2, 3, 4 position. So when I hit the open string, my first finger's already there. I just got to drop it. Where's my 3rd finger? Well, it's not out in space or far away from the string. It's close to the string and ready to just fall down on the third fret, up against that 3rd fret, right? The finger placement. Same thing, open string at A. When I play that B note, my 2nd finger's already there. 3rd finger's already there. Open. So your fingers are set up. That's the whole thing about the finger placement thing. Hug the frets. Tips of fingers, using the tip portions. We don't play on the sides. We don't lay fingers down. We play on the tip portions of our fingers. And your fingers stay set up. We got to keep them learning to have a finger for each fret. And we don't want our fingers flying far away from the strings. So there's a lot to be thinking about. That's why we're staying here working with the chromatic scale and the natural scale for a while. Some more weeks to come. Because we've got to really be meticulous about learning the technique and skill. It's different if we were having personal lessons and I was able to look at you playing. If you have the remote lessons with me on as a Patreon at one of the levels, then I can actually look at your fingers and see what you're doing or not doing, what you're doing wrong or what you're doing right. So hopefully you'll be having some lessons with me up the road. When you're ready to have those lessons, they will be very helpful, because I'll be able to look at your hands and see what's going on. Dealing without that, we're going to continue doing a weekly lesson. These are sometimes a refresher lesson for people that are having the video lessons with me, remote lessons, and then they are able to visit these videos to remember things I talk about and for me to go over. Sometimes I talk about different things. So anyways, natural scale, you're learning to say those note names. You know your open strings really well by now. E, A, D, G, B, E, B, G, D, A, E. You've got 2 E's, low E and high E, right? So you know those open strings, and you're starting to learn that you have 3 A's. We talked about the color coding. You know where your B's are. You know where your C's are, your D's, your E's, your F's, and your Gs. And remember when I said learn your notes, play them forwards and backwards, because that way your pick is learning to gauge. You know, you're hitting your 5th string for the A, your 3rd string, your 1st string, then you're coming back to that 2nd finger, 3rd string, G string, and then the open A, 5th string. So, but you want to go forwards and then come back, signify them. It's like your Bs. Hit the B 2nd finger, open B, and then come back to the low B. That way your pick is learning to gauge. D, your E's, your F's, G's. Okay, so this is a big review. You know, you're learning your notes, you're learning your natural scale. Chromatic scale is getting better. We haven't done any songs yet, but we're heading in that direction, okay? So this week we're going to talk just a little bit about chords. There is a chord sheet that you can get that should be part of this 5th video that you can download. It's on the Patreon site, and it's open chords. The open chord sheet, and then there is another sheet that is the progression number 1. And I'll put both of those on the Patreon. They're there, they're in the libraries. For you to work with. And the first chord you're going to see on the progression number 1 is a C chord. Okay, so this C chord has a C note, it has an E note with the 2nd finger, an open G, a C with the 1st finger, and then another open E. This is a 5-note chord. We've got 5 strings that I'm strumming. C chord, one of the very most popular chords for guitar. So C. See what I'm doing? C chord. The beautiful sound of just a pure C chord. Well, this is a lot for a beginner. Usually, sometimes we'll start with just the first 3 notes. You'll put your 1st finger on C and you'll strum 3 notes. You'll strum the open G and the C note with your 1st finger on the B string, 1st fret, and the open E. So you got 3 notes. You're strumming G, C, and E. Notice my other fingers aren't like here, they're not down there, they're ready to play. But I've got my 1st finger on C and I'm pressing it up against the fret, finger placement. There's my little C chord. I can strum down, up, but just 3 strings. Just the G, B, and E string. So you want to get good at strum 3 notes, strum down, strum up. So you're brushing down, you're brushing up with the pick. Hopefully you're using very little of that pick. You don't want to have it a big flimsy pick. You want to be controlling that pick. You got to squeeze it between the thumb, not on the side of the index finger, but on the flat part, just like you were pinching it, right? So here's your little C chord. Once you feel good about that little C chord, then you can add that next note, which would be the E, right? You see my 2nd finger on E on the D string. So I've got C, and now I've got E. Now I've got a 4-note C chord. So now I'm strumming 4 strings. But I want to make sure that each note's coming out. So I hit the 4th string, the E note with the 2nd finger, the open G string, the 1st finger C, and the open E. So we should hear each note clearly. 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. E, G, C, E. Do I do it backwards? E, C, G, E. Got 2 E's. If I strum down, up, down, up, down, up. So if I'm good at the 3-note C chord, then I add the 4th note, the E. Now I'm ready for that final C note. That C note is 3rd fret A string. So here's my complete C chord. If I was to spell the notes, I've got C, E, open G, C, and open E. It's 5 notes now. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So I'm working on strums, down strums and up strums. Up on 5 notes, down on 5 notes. Down on 5 strings, up on 5 strings. Down, up, down, up. Okay. So C chord may be the first chord that you really work with, because you can start it with a 3 note, 4 note, and then you can get that 3rd finger. The next chord I want you to work with is A minor. So A minor, if we were to take your C chord and we were to just move that 3rd finger and put it onto A on the 2nd fret G string, keeping the other fingers down from the C chord, your 1st finger on C and your 2nd finger on E. So there's your C chord. We take that 3rd finger off and we move it to the A string. So you're making this movement C, and now I have an open A, so I'm strumming 5 strings. 5 notes on the C chord, 5 strings on the A minor chord. C chord sounds happy. Minor chords sound sad. So this is on your chart. On your progression number 1, it's also on your open chord chart for learning other chords. We also have it on the open chord chart and on the progression sheet. C, A minor. So when you first start working on it, it's kind of easy just to keep those fingers down, but eventually you've got to be able to take those fingers off and put them right back down. So you have an open A, you have the E, you have another A with the 3rd finger, and you have a C with the 1st finger and an open E. So your fingering is open, 2, 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 1st finger, open. Your notes, if I spell the chord, are open A, E, A, C, and E. So I want to be able to take the fingers just a little off and put them right back down. So now I got C, I'm coming up, and I'm bringing my fingers, putting all fingers down at one time. Then maybe I switch to the A minor. We usually strum right now in 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. If we do down up, we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and. Now I'm going to come up, C, all fingers up, all fingers down at the same time. That way I'm really learning to switch those 2 chords. But you can start just by moving that 1 finger when you first learn A minor. Your next chord is D minor. D minor is a 4-note chord. We have an F, we have a D, and an A. And we have an open D. So open D, we get an A, 2nd finger, a D, 3rd finger, 3rd fret, and then your 1st finger on F on the high E string. So there's your 1st finger, 3rd finger, 2nd finger. 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 1st finger. D minor, another sad chord. Minor chords usually have that sad sound to them. Versus a C chord, very happy. A minor, kind of sad. D minor, kind of sad. But remember, this is a 4-note chord, so we only strum 4 strings. When you're down, up, down, you don't want to hit the 5th string or the E string, 6th or 5th string. You just want to strum from the D, and strum down, strum up, and strum against 4 strings only. All your other fingers, your 4th finger, although it's not playing anything, it doesn't want to be down there. Well, it wants to be down there, but we want it to be up and ready to do something. We want it ready to play. So we don't want that fourth finger hiding away or out here pointing. Just ready to do something by the strings. All right, we got 3 chords going. Hopefully you've got them kind of going. It takes a while. Your last chord is G. Your G chord is a 6-note chord, 6 strings. We have a G. Now there are different fingerings. There are alternative fingerings. I want you to try second finger on the G, 3rd fret, first finger on B, 2nd fret, and then way up here, 3rd finger. So once again, your 4th finger isn't doing anything. But you got to learn to stretch these fingers a little bit. 2nd finger G, first finger on the B, and then you've got an open D, an open G string, open B string, and that G way up on the top. Look at my fingers hugging the frets, right up next to the frets. You can sound those two notes together. You've got an open D, open G, open B, and then G on the top. Now, little G chord is just this. Remember we did that weeks ago. I had you strum 3 strings, remember? So that little G, 3 strings, then we add the 4th string, which is D. So there's your 4-note G chord, and then we add the B with the first finger on the 2nd fret. A, B. Got a 5-note, and then we add another G in the bottom. So this G chord has 3 Gs. Low G, an open G, and a high G. Sounds great. G chord, one of the most popular chords on guitar. Now there are other fingerings. You'll learn 3, 2, 4. We'll talk about that later, okay? So there are different ways to play a G chord, the 6-note version. But we're going to work on it this way. So if you've got all these chords, you can take that G chord and lift the fingers just a little bit and put them right back down. Then it's being able to get from E minor to G. Oh man, you got to be able to get there in 1 second, 1 beat. Those fingers have to come down right where we want them, right on the right notes. So now we get C. 4 strums, A minor 4 strums, D minor 4 strums. G 4 strums. Sounds nice, doesn't it? C, 2, 3, 4, A minor. You gotta say the name of the chord and count. 1, D minor, 2, 3, 4. Then I go to G, 2, 3. What if I did down, up, down, up, down, up, down? On the D minor, 6 strings. If I speed it up, 5 strings, C. 4 or 5 strings on the A minor, right? D minor, G. Once again, 5 strings on the C, 5 strings on the A minor, 4 strings on the D minor, 6 strings on the G. It's important you're strumming the right amount of strings. So you can work on this very slowly at first. Your D minor, you gotta get all the fingers in the right spot and strum the right strings. Finger placement. All those fingers hugging the frets on the tip portions as best as possible. A lot of things to think about. So this has been quite a lesson today. Your 5th lesson, we did chromatic scale, we reviewed that, we reviewed your natural scale, your notes, you're learning your note names, you're getting better at down-up picking now, and And now finally we're starting to work on chords. This is where we're going to get to songs. By the way, that little progression of C, A minor, D minor, G, that's literally thousands of songs, if not hundreds of thousands, are based on that chord progression. And you may even know a song that, oh, that kind of sounds like that song. It might very well be. We'll talk about that more in the future. So lesson 5, you got to keep reviewing. You got to work on your practice, and it takes time. You got to be patient. You may have to keep reviewing lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, and up to 5 for another week, couple weeks, maybe another month before you go on to lesson 6. You know, these lessons are every week, weekly lessons, but that you can break that rule. And if you need to spend more time, you spend more time on a particular week, and maybe you just keep reviewing up to that week. Maybe you're going to work on lesson 1 through 5 for another month or so. I don't know. But maybe it's working out to where, yeah, you're really working, you're really practicing, you're doing well, or maybe you were a player before and had some things going, and you know, you're wanting to learn better and learn the orthodox method. So maybe you're able to go weekly with me and keep up. But if not, don't get bummed. Don't get bummed out. Don't flip out. Just get mellow and go, okay, well, I've got to spend some more time with this. And like I said, hopefully you're going to be a student of mine on the remote from the Patreon. You're going to join one of the tiers that you'll have a weekly or two times a month, or maybe every week you'll have a remote lesson with me. And that'll be great because I'll be able to see what you're doing and work with you personally. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. This was lesson number 5. All right. We finally got the chords today. So stay tuned. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to email me, contact me, and let me know what's going on, okay? Robert Knoll at the Guitar Zone. Glad to have you.